All right. Got the lighting set. Got the audio recording on both microphones. Hello, Patreon. Thank you guys for your support. I really appreciate it. It's nice to have you here. We need to schedule one-on-ones for those of you who are on the $25 a month tier. So keep an eye out for a message from me so we can kind of set that up. Love to get to know you guys. We're going to get into the podcasting thing. So yeah, interesting episode today. I don't know that it's going to be a super long one. It's just kind of a story. But hopefully maybe it'll give you a little bit a different perspective on things. This is kind of a dark episode. So there's that. Anyway, here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Education 101. I am your host, Not Straight Kate, /baby gay, / whatever else you feel like calling me. Thank you for letting me have the week off last week. I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody being patient. I was just going through some personal things and just did not have it in me to record podcast episodes. So we're back now. I'm just sipping some mate. Before we get started though, I have a message for depression. So if you are not depression, keep scrolling. Depression. This is a letter to you. I don't know you personally. We've only ever met kind of in passing. But I want you to know that I despise you. I do. It takes a lot of me. It takes a lot for me to really, really hate something. But I hate you with my whole soul. I wish I could send you back to the depths of hell from whence you came, because only Satan himself could create a condition that ruins so many lives. I hate you. I hate you for the pain that you cause. I hate you for the hearts that you break, for the lives that you take. I hate that you convince people that they are not good enough, that they're not worthy of love. I hate you. I do. If you were a person, I would hunt you down and there would be nowhere that you could hide from me. I would end you. I don't know how we're living in 2022 and we still don't have a cure. We have half-functioning solutions, Band-Aids. I hate you, depression. I hate that somehow, not only do you convince your victims that they're not good enough, but somehow you've convinced everybody else that it's not okay to talk about you, or that we need to be all hush-hush about the effects that you have. You guys, talk about mental health with your friends. Please, I am begging you. Don't pretend like it's not an issue. There's so many things that I wish I could say. Mental health is a real issue. I get so tired of people pretending like it's not. Okay? I don't understand a lot about mental health issues, but I do understand that when you ignore it and you pretend like it's not a real problem, bad things happen. Okay? That is what I know about mental health. I've seen it. I worked in residential treatment. I've seen what happens when people who have mental health issues don't have support. And it is bad. It is not good. Some of the worst things that I have seen happen to human beings happen when people don't have good support systems. So please, Even if you are a person who is not personally affected by depression or anxiety or whatever, please recognize that other people are. And it is okay to talk about that with them, as long as they're open to it. Don't force people to talk about the things that they're dealing with, but be there for people and let them know that you are there to listen and support and to care. That's it. Stop asking people who are depressed what it is they could possibly be depressed about. Why would you ever say that to somebody that has depression? Oh, what is it? What could you, your life is so great. What could you possibly, there's not even a reason. It's completely illogical. People with depression know this. They know that they shouldn't be sad, but they are sad because something is off in their brain, okay? I get so I'm so tired of people pretending like mental health is not a serious issue. It is. So, depression, I hate you with everything in me. Okay? And I'm going to keep talking about you because things that get kept in the dark have a lot of power over people. So I'm going to keep talking about you and how much I despise you. Okay? And how much you suck. I hate you, depression. Thank you. Anyway, this episode is brought to you by my loathing of depression. I'm okay. Just in case anybody's out there wondering, like, I am fine. I do not have depression. I don't deal really with anxiety, okay? But I know a lot of people who are affected by those things, and it hurts me to watch them deal with that on their own. It's a very painful thing to watch. So, moving on to today's episode, we'll kind of lighten it up a little bit. I will tell you, I am going to share some things with you. This was a very, very, very dark time for me. So, it's a sad podcast episode. I'm obviously in a much better spot now, but I will talk about some dark topics, perhaps. So just be prepared for that. If it's something that you don't really want to listen to, maybe this isn't the podcast episode for you. Okay. There was a time when this was after I came out and I was still dating Kenna. We were living in Provo, Utah. And I was constantly having to pick sides between my family and my girlfriend because my family wasn't particularly supportive, and I didn't want to make everybody uncomfortable by bringing my girlfriend around, but at the same time I felt incredibly guilty that if on the occasion that I would go do something with my family, I always felt guilty leaving my girlfriend behind because this was a person that I really, really loved. And let me preface this by saying that I've never been suicidal. Okay? Let me tell you that right now. It's not something that I've ever considered. But this was a time in my life where the thought of running away and starting over in a place where nobody knew who I was incredibly appealing to me. And it seemed like it really seemed like the only option that I had was to just leave. And I remember telling my mom about this. There was a time though where I got so tired of constantly having to decide between, do I spend time with my family? Do I spend time with my girlfriend? Why can't I spend time with both people? I'm disappointing my family by being gay, and I'm disappointing my girlfriend because she doesn't get to be involved in these family activities that I'm going to. And I can't deal with these people that I care about so much. I cannot handle them being disappointed in me. I didn't want to hurt my girlfriend by breaking up with her to appease my family, you know? And I didn't want to hurt my family by never seeing them because I wanted to be with my girlfriend. It was probably a couple months. There was a couple months where I was going through this very dark, I felt like I was trapped. I felt like I was trapped in a very dark cave, and the only way out was to run away. That's it. That's what I wanted to do. I actually, at the time, my old basketball coach, my high school basketball coach, reached out to me. And I think she had heard, I wasn't really out publicly at the time. I think she had heard through the grapevine of my close friends and former basketball teammates that I was dating a girl. And she reached out to me, and we just had a random back and forth on Instagram. And she was like, "So are you dating anybody? Like, what's going on?" And I told her what was happening. Said, I'm dating this girl. She's great. Sent her some pictures that we had taken. And she was so incredibly supportive. My coach was. She was so kind, and just, she grew up in the same, she is from the same religion that I'm from, the LDS faith. And, she talked to me a lot in her messages about, God and God's love for all people. Despite, what might be perceived as flaws or imperfections. And I just remember being so grateful for her and her willingness to acknowledge that, one, that the church didn't dictate my relationship with God. And it was nice to have somebody who I had always looked up to and respected. It was nice to have somebody like that tell me that everything was going to be okay, This was a person who I really, really admired, still do, person that I really look up to. And to have her reassurance and to hear her perspective and to hear her say that, God loves all his children, it was so calming to me. And that's kind of actually what kickstarted the running away, was getting this outside source of help that wasn't from my family and it wasn't from my girlfriend. These two parties that I was hurting these people unintentionally. This was my perspective, right? I was causing these two parties a lot of pain because of just existing the way that I was existing, right? My family was upset because I was dating a girl. I felt like my girlfriend wasn't being treated fairly because I was afraid of disappointing my family. I didn't want to hurt my girlfriend. I didn't want to hurt my family. And it seemed like the only way to not hurt people that I cared about was to just not be around anymore. To just not be there. To just not be in the picture. Here I go getting emotional again. And I'm not even emotional because I wanted to end my life. That wasn't the thing. But when I say things like that, it makes me think of all the people. It makes me think of all the people who feel like they're in a similar situation, but because of different circumstances, maybe it's mental health, I don't know. For them, the only option is to end their life. Oof. I am always very surprised by the amount of people that I talk to who, on the outside, have seemed like they're okay, and they present in a way that makes it seem like life is doing okay. That's the image that they put out to the world. And this is why I say I hate depression, because depression makes those people feel like they have to lie about what they're doing so that they won't be a burden to everybody else. They feel like a burden. They feel like they're bringing everybody else down. And so the best option for them and for everybody else is for them to just not be around anymore. In my case, suicide was not an option. That wasn't something that I ever seriously considered, but I know people personally who have talked about getting into this dark place where they just feel like they're hurting everybody that they care about. And so the only real option is to not be here anymore. It's a real issue. And I don't think people talk about it enough. I don't think people recognize it enough. I remember talking to, now that I'm talking about this, I remember talking to Kenna's mom, who is an amazing, fabulous woman, one of the funniest people that I've ever met. But she was telling me about a friend of hers whose son was gay and came out. And this kid's dad was having a really, really hard time with it. And his mom basically told his dad, her husband, that he needed to figure this out, because he needed to figure out a way to love his son, because she would rather have her son be gay than be dead. I don't think people don't want to think that that's what it comes to. It gets that bad. Okay? And I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to make you understand that dark, empty space that people get to in their minds where it just doesn't make sense to be alive anymore. I can't explain it because it's not something that I've experienced, but I have talked with a lot of people, and that is the conclusion that they come to. Which makes it so much harder for me to understand how parents could possibly disown a child or kick a child out of the house because they can't get behind their child being gay. It's one thing for you to not like homosexuality or to think that it's wrong. It's another thing for you to push away people who depend on you because you disagree with who they are as a person, which that's a whole separate issue that should probably be addressed at some point. But I tell this story because I want everybody to understand that when you are coming out and you don't have a support system, you have people who are not supportive of your relationship or of this life that you're living, of you being gay, the person who is doing the coming out feels like a problem, and they feel like they're causing a lot of hurt, and they feel like they are a burden, and they feel like they're inconveniencing everybody else. And that is not a healthy place for people to be, because suicide is a real issue, especially within the LGBTQ community, and even more so, I should probably look up the data on this, in regards to LGBTQ people who come from religious backgrounds. Okay? Backing up to this story. I remember telling my mom, I went out my grandma was moving. And I went out to help pack some things up and just to be there and to, be a helpful granddaughter. Why not? And I remember getting out there and my mom said something to me about my girlfriend, and I don't know that she meant for it to come off as rude or condescending, but that's how it felt. And it immediately sent me into defense mode. And it didn't take more than 5 sentences between us for me to be crying hysterically in my grandma's house because I just wanted to run away. And that's when all this came out with my mom. And I think I had actually talked to this about, I had talked with a friend of mine who was a therapist that I worked with. And I remember telling her, like, I just feel like I have to be gone. And I'm not going to tell anybody where I'm going. I'm just going to leave. And I'm just going to start over somewhere else. And I remember her telling me, like, if you do that, you need to tell someone, and you can tell me. Just make sure you tell somebody where you're going. I remember crying in her office, having that conversation with her. And I started telling my mom. I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And she looked at me and she said, are you, and she was very uncomfortable with it because suicide is a hard thing to talk about. And she said, what does that mean? Should I be concerned? Do I need to be worried? And I said, no, Mom. I was like, Mom, I'm not gonna kill myself because of this. But I don't want to be around anymore. You guys are disappointed in me. You're upset. I'm hurting you. And at the same time, there's this other person that I love with my whole heart that I'm hurting because I can't make you guys happy and make her happy. And I don't want to break up with her because I love her. But by loving her, you guys are hurting and you're upset and you're disappointed. And so the easiest option is for me to just not be around anymore. And I'll just leave and I won't talk to you again. And she'll just have to be sad for a little bit and then she'll find somebody else and it'll be fine. But that was my solution. My solution was to run away. And I remember I had it all planned out because I had been talking with my basketball coach, right? Around this time, she had reached out to me and she was very supportive. And she was living at the time in St. George. It's about 4 hours away from me. And I had spent time looking at the cost of a U-Haul trailer because I could just hook that up to my little Tucson. I'll just get a trailer. I don't have a lot of stuff, anything that I don't really need. I could just leave at the house that we were living at. But everything else, all my personal stuff, I could fit that in a small U-Haul trailer, and those aren't very expensive. I'll just, one day when Kenna's at work, I'll just pack my stuff up and I'll leave. And I'll drive to St. George until I figure out, where I'm going from there. I'll go stay with my coach for a few days until I get things figured out. And I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm just going to be gone. And they can wonder what happened to me. That was where I was at the time. Man, it was bad. I remember telling my mom this whole plan, and I don't remember why. I don't remember why I decided to not leave. I'm sure I just talked myself out of it. I probably just talked myself out of it because it was too complicated. It wasn't going to work. I didn't have any money, it was finances. What am I going to do? I'm just going to leave my job and go start over somewhere else. Like I talked myself out of running. And I'm glad that I did. I am. I'm glad that I didn't leave because I learned a lot. And there were a lot of things that I really needed to go through in order to be at the place where I'm at right now. There were a lot of lessons that I needed to learn, even though they were really hard. They were really hard lessons, and there was a lot of crying, and there was a lot of feeling lonely, and that didn't just go away. It wasn't like I decided to stay and then magically everything was better. It was still awful. I was still disappointing my family, and I was still hurting my girlfriend because I felt like I wasn't able to really be fully committed to that relationship. And there was a lot of guilt and shame still that I was having to deal with, but I stayed. And sometimes I think if my situation would have been different, that if I was dealing with depression, or if I did have really bad anxiety, sometimes I wonder, where I would be. If I would be here. It's a scary thing. I say this again as a person who doesn't really deal with mental health issues. I mean, like, do I get sad? Yeah. Do I sometimes feel anxious? Yeah. But that's not a permanent part of my life. It's not something that I have to wake up dealing with every single day. Using all of my energy just to get up and get out of bed. That's not something that I have to deal with. But there are a lot of people that do. And a lot of those people, when they're dealing with the coming out, everything just builds up and builds up, and it builds and it builds and it builds until it's just too much. It's too heavy. And that's when people make really dangerous decisions. I'm glad that I'm still here. I'm glad I didn't leave. Because I have experienced a lot of really incredible things, a lot of really hard things, but also a lot of amazing moments that have taught me about love and patience and compassion. And now I'm actively trying to share that with you guys, share that with other people. Because I think a lot of us who have come out, especially people like the later in life, lesbians, people who are coming out after being in relationships with men for a long time, a lot of us get to that really dark spot where it feels like there are no other options other than just not being around anymore. And it's a scary place to be, and it's really scary if nobody knows that that's what you're going through, right? And the other problem is that if you do have really bad depression, you probably don't want to tell anybody about it because you feel like a burden. And you feel like you're inconveniencing other people, and that just makes it worse, I think people who don't deal with mental health issues, like I said in the beginning of this podcast, we don't really understand it, but we can be compassionate and patient and selfless to an extent, because a lot of times when you're dealing with people who have depression or some pretty serious mental health issues, a lot of times you feel like you're doing something wrong or that you did something wrong, and that's why this person doesn't want to talk to you or doesn't want to confide in you. And that's not always the case. It's not about you. That's just it. It's not about you. It's something that they're dealing with and that they're going through and that they're trying to process, but it's hard to process, and they feel alone while they're doing it, but it's hard to not feel alone because they don't feel like they can tell anybody because they don't want to be a burden. Do you see the cycle? It's vicious. It is vicious. And it has nothing to do with you. But you can be compassionate and you can be selfless. And you can ask people how they're doing, right? And you can just show up for people, It's no skin off your nose to shoot a text to somebody and check in and see how they're doing. And if they don't answer you, it's not your fault. They're probably just going through it. But I'm telling you that even the just the message that you send someone who's really in it deep with depression and is in a really dark spot, that's something that you can do. Maybe they don't respond to you, but you made the effort. Make the effort with people that you care about, with your friends. Don't just brush it off like, oh, you shouldn't be sad. Oh, your life is great. Like, what could you possibly be complaining about? Like, why? Like, your life isn't even that hard. Like, you're not even dealing. Stop saying that to people that have depression. If somebody has confided in you to the point to where they've told you that they have depression or anxiety and you just brush it off like that's not a real thing, oh my gosh. Shame on you. Shame on you. Jeez. It's a real thing these days. So many young people today. And I'm sure there's so many studies out there. Actually, maybe I should dedicate some time to looking up things like that. But so many studies out there with young people who are dealing with these battles mentally that nobody knows about because there's this stigma around it, and you're just supposed to be fine, and you're just supposed to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and keep moving forward. But that's for people with neurotypical brains, I think. It's not really a word that I ever thought I would say on this podcast, neurotypical and neurodivergent. Because you don't want to say normal, right? I don't want to say normal people with normal brains. Like, that's kind of rude. It's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault that you have depression or that you have anxiety. This is life, and it sucks, and it's not fair. You don't have to deal with it by yourself, though. Like, if you were a person and if you think that maybe you're suffering from some sort of mental health issue, I don't know if I even want to say issue. If you're dealing with mental health problems, maybe is a better way to say that. Please go see somebody. Please go see a therapist. Find someone that is trained to help you. There are people out there. I know it's hard. I didn't never want to go to therapy and have to open up to people about the problems that I was having. I'm sure you don't. But it's worth it if it means that you stay here. You know? Because you matter, and you're important, and you're loved, and you are valued, and you're valuable, and you have something to contribute to the world. I believe that. I believe that everybody has something to offer the world. And it might not be the world, right? Like, I don't know if I'm about this, like, one person can change the world thing. Like, I do think that there's ripple effects, right? But, like, you can definitely change someone's world, you know, with who you are and how you interact with people in your immediate circle. Like, you can change their world. They can go out and they can reciprocate that. They can be that for other people. And then slowly you get all these people who start to care about each other genuinely, and magically your community is a better place because people care. And because we communicate, and because we talk about our problems, and because we acknowledge that it's okay to have problems and to have challenges. And that's a normal part of life. And that not everything is perfect all the time. You guys, don't get caught up in the social media world of my life is perfect. Look at me doing all this fun stuff. It's fake. Life is not perfect. Everybody is going through something. And I don't know why we keep pretending online like there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong in the world. Everything is perfect. My life is great. Look at me. Stop doing that. Stop pretending. Stop putting on a show for other people. You're not doing anybody any favors. Because then guess what? Somebody sees that and they go, man, my life really sucks. Man, my life isn't that good. I wish I had that. Like, why can't my life be like that? I'm doing something wrong because my life doesn't look like the people on the internet. Look how happy they are. It's a lie, you guys. Man, the dangers of being on the internet. You get all these people that talk about, you need to use your platform responsibly. First of all, don't tell me how to use my platform. Secondly, what I'm not going to use my platform for is lying to people. Life is hard, you guys. It is hard. Always. For everyone. Okay? There are moments, there are ways to make it easier. There are ways to make it better. But for the most part, everybody is suffering from something. Can we overcome those things? Absolutely we can. Does that take a lot of effort? Absolutely. But it's the effort and it's the trying and it's the perseverance that makes us stronger and makes us more capable of overcoming obstacles in the future. But if we pretend like there aren't any obstacles, if you pretend like really there's nothing wrong, then everybody just thinks that their life should be easy. And it's not that way. Do not believe people on the internet that only post positive things, you guys. Okay? Thank you. That is my public service announcement. Many public service announcements. Depression sucks. Again, depression, if you're watching this, I hate you. I hate you, and I'm going to keep talking about you because you ruin lives, and I think everybody should know that. You are the worst. Again, don't believe everything you see on the internet. Okay? There's a lot of masks out there. And people take the masks off and you realize that there's a lot of problems. A lot of problems. Okay? Nobody's life is perfect. I think a lot of times people post, and I said this on my Instagram the other day, oftentimes what people post on social media is a reflection of what they want their life to be, not necessarily what their life is. It's almost like a way of manifesting, maybe. I think that's why some people do it. They're like, if I only post positive stuff, then maybe I'll just start having all these positive things happen to me, which is fine until you remember that there are other people who are having a hard time in life and they're seeing you posting all of the positive stuff and that's all it is. And they go, man, something is wrong with me. And that's not true. You're allowed to struggle. You're allowed to have a hard time. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to hurt. You're allowed to feel pain. The important thing is getting up and continuing and finding people to lean on and rely on. There's a lot of really good people out there. Sorry, this last part of the podcast kind of turned into just like a rant. If you find yourself in a really dark spot, please reach out to people who are close to you. Ask them if they have space for you. Ask them if they are willing to listen to you. And I'm sure you will find somebody that is. Okay? I know it feels like nobody wants to listen. I know it feels like you're maybe going to be a burden, but people want to help. There are people in the world who want, just crying again is fine. There are people in the world who want to be there for you. You can let them. You can let them be there. It's going to be okay. We're all getting through this. We're all getting through this together. Okay, that's what Education 101 is. Recognizing that things are hard, but also understanding that you're not alone and that people are going through and have gone through a lot of the things that maybe you're dealing with. And there are people that you can talk to who can help you out, who can give you advice. So don't give up hope. Things do get better. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you so much to my Patreon people for making this a possibility. I really appreciate it. If you haven't checked out the Patreon, go check it out. We have a lot of fun over there. It's a great way to support me if you're interested in that. Please shoot me a message on Instagram if you have any comments or thoughts about the podcast. I'm sorry if I don't respond. I'm trying to be a little bit more active in terms of messaging you guys back. So even if I don't respond, please know that I am reading your messages. Appreciate that. I'll see you guys in the next episode. I'll catch you on the TikTok, maybe on the Instagram. If you've got a really good idea for a podcast, if you've got any questions, you've got something that you want me to touch on specifically, please let me know. Let me know. I'm happy to answer questions. assuming I have an answer. Sometimes I'll just ramble, but I will try my best. So thank you guys for listening to another episode. I will catch you on the next podcast. Have an awesome week.